We're looking at pull request 26715 in llama.cpp, a feature that replaces the resource picker with a new file mention picker. Nearly 2,000 lines added, touching 28 files across the UI layer. Let's walk through what's changing and why it matters. This PR has two main goals. First, we're swapping out the old resource picker, the one tied to MCP server capabilities, with a new file mention picker that searches the file system dynamically. Second, we're adding proper @mention token detection and link insertion so users can reference files just by typing @ followed by a path or file name. Along the way, we're adding badge chip rendering in messages, building out picker navigation hooks, caching search results to reduce redundant queries, and making search depth user configurable. And we're respecting two key constraints. The picker won't pop back open while you're editing the same token, and the server-side contracts stay unchanged. The old resource picker was simpler, but limited. It triggered on the @ symbol and directly listed resources exposed by MCP servers. The new system is more flexible. It uses the file glob search tool to dynamically search the file system, understands token boundaries so you can type naturally, and works independently of server resources. This bridges the gap between the conversation and the file system, making it easy to reference files by name. Let's look at the surface area. The heart of the change is in chatform.svelte. That's where mention token detection and link insertion live. A new component, chatform mention picker, handles the actual file and folder picker. 3 new utilities support the feature. Mention token handles token detection, glob search runs the file system queries with caching, and mention badge manages badge rendering and link manipulation. We're also adding shared hooks for picker navigation and debounced search, so future pickers can reuse this infrastructure. Here's the core token detection logic in mentionToken.ts. When the user types, we scan backward from the caret, looking for the most recent @ symbol. If we hit a boundary character, like a space or paren, before we find the @ there's no token. Otherwise, we scan forward until we hit another boundary, and that's the token extent. Identifier characters like underscore don't break tokens, so you can type at my underscore file and it stays intact. This gives us clean, natural word boundary behavior. The glob search module adds a 2-second result cache to reduce redundant queries. The cache key uses a null byte as a separator between fields, path, type, include pattern, and depth. When we run a search, we check the cache first. If the result is fresh, we return it immediately. Otherwise, we prune stale entries to prevent memory growth, run the search, and cache the new result. This keeps the picker responsive without hammering the file glob search tool on every keystroke. The mention picker component pulls it all together. It takes the query from the chat form, checks if the file glob search tool is enabled, and runs a debounced search when the picker is open and the query isn't empty. The search calls run glob search with children with descend on trailing separator set to true, so typing a trailing slash will walk into that directory's children. Keyboard navigation is handled by the use picker navigation hook, which manages the highlighted row and fires the select callback when you press enter. Badge rendering happens in a rehype plugin. When Markdown is processed, the plugin finds any anchor tag whose href starts with file:// and rewrites it into a styled span. The span has a presentation role, so it's not interactive. File links can't navigate from an HTTP page anyway, due to browser security. The badge shows an icon, file or folder, depending on whether the path ends with a slash and an abbreviated label. The full path goes in the title attribute as a tooltip. This gives users a clean, visual way to see file references in messages. After this lands, users can type @ followed by a file or folder name, and the picker appears with ranked results from the working directory. Arrow keys navigate, enter selects. The system splices a Markdown link in place of the @query token. In rendered messages, those links appear as styled badge chips with file or folder icons and abbreviated path labels. And if you press backspace at the end of a link, the whole link deletes in one keystroke. The mention picker won't reopen while the dismiss token is intact. You have to edit the token to trigger a fresh search. Search depth is user configurable, defaulting to 10 levels with a max of 32. There are a few things to keep an eye on. The picker trusts that run glob search with children returns pre-ranked results. There's no explicit sort in the component, so if the underlying ranking logic changes, the picker behavior will silently change. The cache key uses a null byte as a separator, which is safe for validated fields but could collide if a malformed field contained that character. Token boundary detection stops at common punctuation but doesn't account for Unicode whitespace like non-breaking space or zero-wit space, which could confuse IME users. The dismiss token check only compares start and query, so manually truncating a token might not be recognized as a different token. And file : / links render as badges even if the href is malformed or the file doesn't exist on the server. There's no validation. None of these are critical, but they're worth noting in review. Overall, this is a thoughtful feature that bridges conversation and file system with clean UX and smart caching. The code is well structured, the boundaries are respected, and the gotchas are all edge cases rather than core flaws. I'd approve this with a few notes. Confirm the Unicode whitespace behavior with IME users. Validate that any future ranking changes in glob search are intentional, and maybe consider adding a file exists check for badge rendering. Nice work on this one.